Hello friends, welcome back to the Django tutorial. Today we will be discussing about the use of static files. Static files means those files which we generally use to create a web page or the web applications. Like images are the static files for us. Then the CSS file which we use to decorate our page, that is also a static file, and the JS file which we keep generally separate to write your JavaScript. So that file can be a static file. So those files has to be stored in certain folders and we need to access from that folder. But as we are using a framework, we have to tell this framework that my files are present statically in a particular folder. So we whenever we are using a HTML page, so we have explained that how to access the HTML page from a particular template folder. So same way we have to mention somewhere in the setting.py that how to use that static file. So for this particular demo, I am going to use the new project. So I'll quickly create a new project. So Django admin, start project, and I'll name that project as demo static. Okay, so this will be my new project, demo static. Inside this demo static, I'll create one folder whose name will be template for your HTML page, and one more folder I'll be creating and I'll name that folder as static. Okay, so this static folder will containing all the images and CSS and JavaScript file. So what I'll do, inside the static folder I'll create a new folder again. One is for images and another will be for your CSS file. Okay, so we have a static folder, inside that we have a CSS and images folder, and within that we'll create a separate file. So in the CSS folder I'll creating a new file. I'll name that file as style.css. Okay, and here we are going to write our CSS. Then in the images folder I'll quickly copy few images. So I have copied all the four required images in the images folder. So we have created the required folders. Now we'll come to the project folder. So we need to change the directory, that is cd demo static. Okay, then we'll check whether our server is working or not. So I have to write python space manage.py run server. Okay, sorry, I always miss the spelling of python. Okay, now it is okay. Then I have to click on this IP and it will show me the successful message of Django installation. Okay, done. Then we have to create one HTML page which is in the template folder, and file name should be index.html. Okay, and inside this page I'll write some HTML code for understanding, and simply I'll write here h1 hello world. Okay, so now we want to access this page. So as we are not creating any module yet, we are directly writing the project the code in the project directory itself. So here the views.py is missing because we are not creating any app. In the coming videos we'll see that what is the app means. So as of now we need to create a views.py here. So I'll quickly create views.py. This is we have already done. Here you need to import some packages. So from Django.shortcuts you have to import the render method. Okay, and here you are always be creating one method which will be pointing or rendering to the your HTML page. So create one function, suppose home, the request calling to this, the URL which is calling to this function home. For that you are returning the render page as the request, and the page name is index.html. Okay, then in the urls.py you have to mention the URL name. So here you can write path. Okay, and it I want to show that as a home page, so blank single quotes, and here you will write views because in the file views.py you are creating one function home which is representing your home page. So for that you need to write from the current directory import the file views. Okay, done. But to access this HTML file we need to change in the setting.py. So here if you scroll the setting.py, in the list templates here you have to mention that first of all you have to import the package OS. So here I'll simply import OS. In your case it might be not needed, but here in the directory you have to write os dot path dot then join base dir and comma single quotes. What is the name of the folder which is containing HTML file is a template. Okay, so now your HTML code is connected. So let us run this server again and check whether you have successfully called the HTML page or not. Okay, we have done it. Now I want to apply the CSS property to this. Okay, so generally how we do that, so I'll quickly open the CSS file from the static folder. So inside the static I have a CSS file here, and I'll simply write that if h1 tag is there, I have used h1 tag, I want to make the color of that is red. A simple property we have written. Okay, so now to access this property I have to import the style.css in a HTML page. So normally how we do that, inside the head here we link that page. So you write the link CSS and here you need to mention the path, right? Okay, so let us try where is your file. It is present in the static slash, what is the folder name CSS slash, and what is your file name, that is style.css. Okay, and let us check that whether you are getting the h1 as a red or not. So I'll just save it, I'll stop our server and I'll run it again and let us check what will happen. Okay, now you can see you are not able to get the color of that hello world in the red color as we have correctly imported the CSS file. You can see that there is a static folder, okay, then CSS folder, and then there is a style.css in which we have written one property that color should be red of the tag h1 on your web page, but it is not showing that. So one of the reason is like you are in the demo static folder, sorry, in the you are inside the template folder and you have to come out and then you have to write you have to go inside the static folder, so you can write dot dot slash. So this is the way to come out of the current directory. So let us check what will happen. So again I'll run the server, I'll check it, and still you are not able to access that. Okay, so I'll right click here, I'll click on the inspect, go to console and check it is telling you that the file is not found and the file name is style.css. Even if we have correctly mentioned the folder names, but it is not accessible, and even if you remove this and if you reload it, still that is not accessible. Again now it is 404 not found. So why it is so, we have to check we have to add something in the setting.py as I told you. So static files are having the different meaning in this Django framework. So go to the setting.py, come to the bottom, you will get one static URLs, that is static, but you have to create a URL path. Now if you observe this documentation part, if you click on it, you will go to the official page of the Django static file. Just go through this documentation and it will tell you that you have to create the static file directories path and it should be static. So I'll just copy this much, I'll come back here and after this I'll paste it. So we are saying that the static files directory is with this name static present along with the base directory. So this next one is not needed right now, so I'll just remove it. Okay, so we have visited the official site of documentation and we just copied this code, pasted it, unwanted code is removed. Okay, and still if you run your server and check it, and now you will get that you are accessing the property which you have written. So this is the way, this is the one way how to access the file, but every time you have to mention that static slash css style.css. So this is a one way. Okay, now let us try to access an image which is present there. Okay, so the image is present inside the images folder and the name of that image is team-1.jpg. Okay, so I want to use that image below the hello world. So generally we use img tag, then you have to write the complete path. So you will write static slash css slash the name, sorry, not css, images slash the name of your image is team dot hyphen one dot jpg. Okay, let us do this, and for this image I'll write some property to maintain the ratio. So for the img tag I'll use the width of around 300 pixel, and let us check what will happen. So I'll just save it, I'll stop the server, I'll run it again, and I'll click on this IP and we'll check what happened. So you are getting that image, right? So this is one way, by directly giving an entire path including, sorry, including the static folder, you can access those files. But for that you have to change one thing in the setting.py, that is you have to add the static files directory. Okay, now there is an alternative way. Instead of this you can do something else, and that is called as load static. So again you can visit the official page of the Django documentation for the static files, and here something you can see in the third point, it is mentioning that you can load all the files from the static folder once. Okay, so you have to write this load static keyword at the starting of the page. So I'll copy it. So where you will write it, you will write in the index page, that is HTML page. So at the beginning here I'll write curly braces, percent signs, then load static. So what it means, it will load all the static files from the static folder. Okay, done. And now if you run your code, so you do not need to write this static. So you don't want to write this static here. So you need to change the URL. So how to change it? So I'll just remove this part. Now normally how we write the CSS folder and style.css, but here you have to write something different, that you have to write curly brace, percentage, then you have to write static, then mention the single quote up to this file, then close percentage and curly brace. So this is how you are accessing the static file. Now here you are not mentioning the static slash css slash style.css. Okay, and here I'll not use that to show the difference. I'll use the alternatives like team image. The alternative text will be displayed if the image is not there. So for the CSS we are included the proper syntax of the load static, and for the images we are not used. So I'll quickly stop the server and we'll run it again and we'll check what output we can see. So you can see that the hello world is displayed in the red color, but the static file is not there in the red, the image is not properly represented there. So why it is not represented? Because you have not correctly mentioned the path. Either you have to write entire path like static slash, and then if you reload it you may get the image, and if you don't want to use the entire path you can use the load static method. So for that you have to write the curly brace, percent, static, single quote, percent and closing bracket. So this is another way, it will give you the same output. So that is how we use the static files in the HTML. So it's up to you, you want to write the entire path or you want to use this load static. So now you can create a card through this style.csl. So it's up to you how you want to create it, and you can create your beautiful UI through this CSS and using the images into your projects. So we'll stop here and you just practice this much. In the next video we'll see the next concept. Thank you.